What's happening, FlowChat connector? Sean back at you here for another FlowChat sales training episode. In this video, we're going to talk about how to DM or sell to someone with words over Zoom or on the phone that already knows the solution. Stay tuned. What's happening, FlowChat connector? I'm Sean back at you with another high-ticket tune-up FlowChat sales training episode. Don't forget to smash that like button, share this out to those people that need it so we can feed the algorithm gods and get this knowledge out there so more people can be better in sales. Today, we're going to talk about something that's awesome. We got a great question that came from my man, Alan. Alan says this. He says, Sean, most of my prospects know the solutions available in my marketplace. Is there any advice you'd share I could use in the DMs or on a sales call? Well, absolutely. There's a tremendous amount of things that you can do when somebody knows the solutions, right? This is, if we go back to what I'm going to cover today in Eugene Schwartz's levels of awareness, there's 5 different levels of awareness that a buyer could have. And we're going to dive in to all of those things right now. So today we're going to cover again, how to DM or sell to someone that already knows the solution based on the question that Alan just asked us. So let's get into it. First and foremost, what do we say, right? So if we're looking along the top of this diagram here, we see most aware on the left, unaware on the right-hand side. So that is the brain level awareness of the person that you're addressing, either in the DMs or when you're selling to them. And the line below where it says direct to indirect, left to right, and then you have offer leads, promise solution leads, secret leads. Those are the solutions of how to address these types of people. So today we're going to focus on the problem solution or secret leads because we covered the other ones in earlier sessions. So when we're looking at what type of copy we want to write, if we go back to Eugene Schwartz's 5 levels of awareness, he says we should use claims and proof. So claims and proof can be deployed in quite a lot of different ways. You guys might know them as like befores and afters and those types of things, or, holding up a check or some of those types of things. But there's some different ways to address them in the DMs and when we speak to them. So how do we sell to the person with this level 3 awareness, which is this problem solution? So they already know they have a problem. They already know there's solutions out there. What do we do? How do we sell to them? Well, here's a couple of keys that you have to remember. Number 1, this is going to be a hot button approach. And what I mean by that is we don't want to address anything that we have to offer. We don't want to talk about any of our products or services or anything like that. We want to stay focused on the biggest issue that's relevant to them at the current time, right? Relevancy and real time in your world, like industry knowledge, right? That's usually the best way to go. I'll give you some examples here in a second. And as I mentioned, we want to delay the talk of our product or service before we dive into this, right? And then from here, we focus on the biggest, most emotionally charged and relevant issue that we can come up with. So here's an example from David Ogilvy. He says this, he says, when you advertise fire extinguishers, open with the fire, right? When you're talking about coaching services, let's say, for example, I'll just throw one out there, like maybe it's mindset coaching, right? So if you're a mindset coach, you don't want to specifically talk about, hey, I'm going to sell my coaching services to you. We turn around and we say, hey, do those voices in your head just hit you every single night before you go to sleep? And then it stops you and then you have insomnia and then you feel like awful and you can't even provide around the ones that you would love. Is that happening to you? That is the more relevant issue. Now, I said a lot of words there to make a point to just explain that if you're talking in the DMs, don't talk about your problems or your coaching abilities or any of that other stuff, right? Hey, I noticed one of your pictures, you seemed a little bit down. You okay? Right? Be genuinely authentic and caring in the DMs, and you'll get very, very good response rates, right? So if you are selling in the DMs, that's one thing to think about. On the other hand, when you get into a sales conversation, this part of the conversation happens typically at the 3rd stage. So in our selling system, we go with the bonding and connecting. We set the rules of the game, which we call the agenda for the call. And then we dive into part 3, which is this part. And we say, hey, I'm going to ask you a few questions today about your thing. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I want to start. I just want to ask, I noticed a couple of pictures in your profiles. You didn't seem the happiest that you're out there. Are you radiating confidence right now? Or are you struggling? And then all of a sudden you've started with the fire instead of the fire extinguisher, which is your coaching services. Okay. As we move on, here's another example. This is more classic copywriting in marketing. So use the idea, right? So again, this is an extreme prolific example, and your job is to take the example and tune it into your world. So, okay, so I'm going to read this. Do your hands and feet feel like blocks of ice? That is what we call a question, because we are already looking for the person that knows they have a problem problem and knows there's solutions out there, but still we always want to start with the problem before we drop the solution. And then you see in the small print, if you can see that, it says discover nature's amazing all natural remedy for poor circulation. So there we go. Now we know we have hands and feet that feel like blocks of ice as a prospect. And now we can look at this all natural remedy for poor circulation. So they already knew poor circulation was causing the problem. They already knew there's certain solutions out there, but now maybe they're seeing, hey, it's all natural for poor circulation because that's the problem, right? So there you go. So that it's explained everything very clearly. So if you're writing in the DMs and you have somebody that's in a space that already knows things, like say, for example, you sell funnel services and the prospect that you're talking to already has used maybe one or two people to build their funnels and do some of those things. Well, then you could start with something like the lag times on your site piss you off. Discover this ancient secret that's been used since 1991 when the internet was started that nobody talks about, right? And then you could say funnel whatever your magic sauce is or something like that. So you could use that type of copy in the DMs. And then again, when it gets into the sales conversation, we talk about things like just asking those questions, right? Like just really point it out to those questions and pulling out the problem. And the idea is when you pull out the problem with somebody already knows the solution, we have to dig deeper with the pain side of the conversation. We have to get deeper there because we have to get to an emotional level. There's 3 levels of impact you can make in a sales conversation. One's kind of like the business, or sorry, it's the pain indicator. That's the indicator of the impact. Then you have the business impact of what is hurting on the business. And then you have the personal impact level. So when you have somebody that's smart, that already knows there's solutions out there, we have to dig through each of those levels. And by getting into those worlds, asking a little more questions, you can get deeper to that personal impact. I'll talk more about that later in another session. Here's another example. Can't fall asleep, not staying asleep, waking too early, never again. There's an instruction, right? So now it's like the doctor has solved today's top health problems naturally and safely for over 40,000 patients. There's the claim and proof, and now brings you a powerful sleep solution, making sleepless nights a thing of the past, right? So when you're writing sales copy, it's fine to put all of this in. You can see this is direct marketing response copy. When you're talking in the DMs, break this in half, break it into thirds. You could start with those questions like, do you have trouble falling asleep? Are you staying asleep all night, right? Sometimes I like to throw the impact of, if that's the negative benefit, then the impact would be, hey, you can't fall asleep. Do you wake up feeling tired every single morning, right? Like, or waking too early, like, there you go. Well, never again. And then you could talk through your solution. So, and those people are going to be the ones that hook harder. So these are the ones that are actually ready to buy more often because they've already experienced the pain. They've already probably tried 1 or 2 solutions. And if you can present a different and new and rare strategy that they haven't heard before, this will close a lot of deals for you. We have a lot of people in our DMs that have a lot of success with this level of awareness. And here's a pro tip. Don't cheer up your prospects too soon. Don't be willing to give them the solution until you've sat in that space just for a minute, because you need to sit in that space so they can really feel it, right? It's awkward for you as the sales professional, but the prospect, it's 10 times as awkward. And they're sitting there thinking to themselves like, oh man, this really sucks. Like this person totally that I'm talking to, which is you, knows where I'm at, right? And you can read in their minds, you can have that conversation. And that, my friends, is how you can use the level 3 awareness when your prospect already knows that there's a solution out there. Here's a couple of formats for you just so you have the quick one. So the inversion, again, when you're advertising fire extinguishers, start with the fire. That was the David Ogilvy quote you heard a minute ago. Secondly, the question or the problem. Like, again, do your hands and feet feel like blocks of ice? That's the question. And then the instruction, right? Waking up too early, never again. Here's the solution. And those are kinds of the formats that you can talk. You can be a little bit more direct. You don't have to do as much discovery work on the beginning of the call because typically people want to go fast. And again, it comes down to just knowing the awareness level of the person that you're speaking with and try to stay in context, because when you stay focused on this as a sales professional, you will close more deals. And with that said, go fight, win, go FlowChat every day, all day. That's what we do. You've just been tuned up. I hope this one helped you. I thought this one was valuable. I really like this one. And with that said, don't forget to smash that like button, hit the subscribe, and we'll most def talk to you next time. Bye for now.